Hey there, everybody, and welcome back. I've been putting it off, but I think it is about time for a new computer. So what we're going to do in today's video, if you have any issues like I do and it's just time to upgrade, this is an older computer, although it did have an i5, so it was one of the older but still decent computers with a touchscreen. But as you can see, definitely time for a bit of an upgrade. So we're going to be looking over a couple of different tips and tricks here on eBay, so I'll jump into screen sharing mode in just a bit, but we're going to be covering a couple of very unique ways to find really good deals on computers, and then I'll buy a couple of sketchy ones just so you can see really what I'm getting when I'm doing this. So let's jump straight in. Alright everybody, welcome back. We are now in screen sharing mode to check out this deal. Now first thing I want to do is go ahead and basically try to authenticate this video just by showing you up here it says I won this auction, so I have officially purchased this computer. Now one quick disclaimer, since we're going to be talking about basically bidding on products from potentially unknown sellers, things of that nature, make sure that you're doing your own due diligence, your own research, and proceed with any and all of these purchases at your own risk. Best piece of advice is to make sure that your purchases are covered by any kind of buyer protection. So let's jump in. Now I am zoomed in to protect the identity of the seller on eBay. So I'm going to go through a couple of tips and tricks for making this purchase on eBay. And then when I get the device in, so check the link in the description, I'll have a video to the unboxing of this device. But I want to walk through why I decided to purchase this, why I think I made a little bit of a mistake, and basically just weigh out pros and cons to a device like this. So let's jump in. Now, first things first, you'll notice winning bid is $400, and it is a decent price for shipping, so $82.61. However, that does bring the total purchase price of this to just over $500 after tax. Now, I was looking for a gaming PC, something kind of entry level, and to be honest, I wasn't quite sure what to get. I'm not a big gamer myself, but I was really big into computers and things like that a while back, so kind of wanted to relive some of that passion. So let's go into the first image and show you why I decided to purchase this. I wanted something middle of the road, so I didn't want the Ryzen 3 processor. I was trying to get something kind of middle to higher end if possible, but obviously, especially due to the chip shortage, due to the pandemic, prices and honestly just competition everywhere for gaming PCs has gone up quite a bit. So here are some tips and tricks that I have on purchasing devices like this and how you can potentially avoid mistakes. So first things first, we are looking at the description and you can see that they have posted this screenshot. Now it is blurry on my end, so I'm guessing it's even worse on your end, but I'm seeing an AMD Ryzen 7 2700X. At least that's what I'm thinking I'm seeing. So basically, first thing I did was Googled that, see what it was selling for on Amazon. That way, if worse comes to worse and I have to part this thing out, then potentially I could do that. Now, I do see that we are looking at 16 gigs of installed RAM. Now, when we're looking at the picture, I'm seeing that the RAM has the RGB coloring, so it's going to be, I'm guessing, a newer setup there, which is good to see. Now, one thing that caught my eye after purchasing it was, if you see in here, it's an NZXT device. So I haven't heard much about them, don't really know anything about them, so I went over to their website to see if I could find this device, because I messaged the seller and asked for the model number, but I haven't heard back yet, and I didn't want to miss out on a potential really good deal. So when I went to the NZXT website, I looked at their gaming PCs and I checked out a couple of the basic entry-level devices. So I tried to find something as close to this as possible. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find this exact device because most of the computers that I found were using an i5 or some kind of an Intel processor. But if we were to just select the black version of this starter PC just to find a baseline. Now, when you scroll through, you'll see we have an i5 GT or a GeForce RTX 3050. This is what got me excited about this device. So potentially getting a GeForce RTX 3050 in this price range in a computer that's functioning is pretty good, at least at the time of filming this video. So what I decided to do was I'm going to risk it, because when I scroll down, and again, I'm trying to zoom in to protect the identity of the seller, you'll see right here, gaming tower, monitor, keyboard, speakers, rarely used, bought as individual pieces for a gaming computer. but kids hardly use it. Computer tower, 2 monitors, speaker, keyboard, mouse. So, overall, there's really no details. When I checked the description, I could not see a dedicated graphics card. It looks like there is one in there, but I can't read or see what it actually is. Part of me is a little bit scared that they may have pulled the graphics card out, but I'm 99% sure that that is one. Just unfortunate that I can't zoom in enough on the picture to see it. Now, another thing that was attractive to me, once I started looking a little bit closer, so you get some, decent speakers, you get this RGB keyboard, and it looks like the keyboard that NZXT actually includes with their other builds. So when you scroll through, you'll see that this looks similar to the keyboard. So it's a pretty expensive keyboard if it's the one that I'm thinking. And then the mouse actually looks similar as well. So when we're scrolling through the pictures, it almost looks like they have a similar mouse and keyboard. But again, this model seems like it might be a little bit older based on the age of the processor. Now, the last thing that caught my eye actually after I purchased it is if you see in this zoomed in picture right here, it actually looks like this may be a water-cooled unit, which would be incredible at this price point. So I wasn't quite sure. Again, the pictures are a little blurry, but I looked up the NZXT water cooling or liquid cooling units just to get a general idea, and you'll see if we just zoom in on this unit just to see what it looks like, and then we go back to this tower, it does look like right here in the center of the larger picture on the right that we do have a water-cooled unit. And again, 16 gigs of RAM. They have the RGB coloring, so I'm guessing it's newer RAM. So overall, I mean, again, not knowing as much about the computers as I did in the past, I think that this is a decent price point for this device, assuming that it has a GPU of some kind. Again, a little bit concerned, but I know that NZXT will likely have some kind of a GPU in there. If not, they note on their website that a lot of their devices are set up to essentially be modified later on. So I'm very, very hopeful that I'll be able to work with this and potentially buy any other parts and make this a decent gaming setup. But worst comes to worst, it has enough stuff coming with it to where I could probably part it out and end up selling it and honestly make a couple bucks. So going through the lessons learned, so the good and the bad. So a couple of things. First and foremost, the seller had about 35 or so positive ratings. Now, one thing you want to check on eBay is when you see a bunch of positive ratings, are they a buyer only or are they a seller too? So if they are a buyer and they just buy a lot of stuff, they can have a ton of positive ratings, but they may not have any positive seller ratings. So you just want to make sure, especially if you're taking a bit of a risk. Now, second, you need to make sure that you're avoiding assumptions if you can. Now, buying gaming computers was honestly was very, very competitive, especially on a bidding website like eBay. For example, I am actually looking at purchasing this device right here. So you'll see this is the MEG Z590. So I'm going to go into this in another video. Check the link in the description. But this is potentially a several $1,000 computer. So I'm making the assumption, which again, I'm making the mistake, so you don't have to. But I'm making the assumption that this device is the one that I think it is, and it's in the condition that I think it is, and it could potentially be a several $1,000 computer, at least much higher than what it's currently going for, and it's going to be, the auction's going to be ending in the next hour or two, so check out that link in the description where I go into detail on this. But we will jump into this gaming tower here. So basically, the mistakes that I made. First and foremost, it is a relatively new seller. Some of their reviews are for buying and selling. So basically, it's not 35 positive seller reviews. It's 35 reviews mixed between buying and selling. Now, that's not terrible. At least they follow through with things, which is good to see. It's not someone who just, this is their first device that they have posted. What you want with a gaming PC is someone who has experience selling. That way you know that they are actually going to be shipping everything with care. But if worst comes to worst, eBay has this seller buyer protection, so you can leverage that if you need to. Just make sure to look into that when you can. Now, next thing, make sure the price makes sense. So some of these are going to be hidden gems. For example, other people may have avoided this because they don't know if it comes with a GPU, they don't know the quality, the processor may not have been exactly what they wanted, or maybe they haven't even heard of the brand. Now, when there's a lack of detail in the description, it's one of those things where you can get a little bit of a concern, and I can definitely understand that. So my thought is, Buying something like this, I got it because when it comes with multiple monitors, the keyboard and everything else, I should at the very least be able to make my money back, which is a goal that you should have when purchasing something that's in what we'll call the sketchy zone for pricing. So overall, the mistakes that I made was buying from a seller that's not the most reputable, not really doing as much research, and just kind of assuming that this is some father or mother who purchased this for their kids and didn't really know the device's worth. Probably it's a couple years old. So I had to make quite a few assumptions as I don't know what generation this is, and I couldn't do enough detailed review or honestly just research into the product. But I did look up the builds. They look like they have some pretty solid computers. It does look like it has some pretty cool, we'll just say next gen tech. I mean, a water cooler in a gaming rig that's $500, especially at the time of filming this video, is pretty good. So overall, check out the link in the description. We'll do a final recap of what I got, see if I got what I actually purchased, and then we'll go from there. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next video.